Hello and what's up, dudes and dudettes? This is, of course, your one and only Sugi Shogun here, and today I'm gonna be finally reviewing EDENS Zero Season 1. And in case you haven't seen the anime, it is available on Netflix in case you wanna check it out. Now, where should we get started? So this is based on a manga of the same name, which has been written and illustrated by none other than Hiro Mashima, who is known from Rave Master and nowadays more so from Fairy Tail. And there was a bit of a controversy when the initial manga panels were basically revealed with all of the Eden Zero's characters, and a lot of people were making, contrast that these characters were basically copy-pasted designs from Fairy Tail and from Rave Master. And that's something I'm going to be addressing a bit later down in this review. First, I want to kind of tackle on what is this show about, what is its genre, and who's it's kind of for. So, Eden Zero is a sci-fi fantasy show in akin to Dune or Star Wars, where the setting is very sci-fi. You have the space, multiple planets, spaceships, space travel, time traveling even. But there's a lot of elements which are inherently fantasy-esque. People using swords, you have worlds that look like very fantasy-esque, and you have like fantasy types of monsters, and also like people are using kind of sorts of magic in the world, which is called ether gear, but it's very akin to a magical system in a lot of ways. So it's something that kind of blends out perfectly the two. It's kind of like Fairy Tail in space in a lot of ways, but the adventure of this story is constructed in a different way, okay? And the main character in the story is Shiki, who is living in a planet filled with robots, and robots are kind of like, or androids, whatever you want to call them, are kind of important part of the story in the sense that it kind of explores the relationship of androids and humans living together or hating each other, and also exploring the themes. Can androids have a heart? Are they really human as well? Or are they sentient? And these types of things. And that's kind of one of the main subjects that gets explored throughout these seasons, so to speak. And it's kind of like one of the main themes in the story. And Shiki meets out this girl known as Rebecca, which is, basically copy-pasted Lucy from Fairy Tail. And basically things happen on the planet, and they depart from the planet and go into this journey to meet this, entity known as Mother, which is, let's just say, the god of the universe, which have created all of these cosmoses that are in the world, etc. So that's kind of like the setting here, and more people will join on the journey, and everybody kind of has their own type of agenda or reason why they want to go, to different places. So that's kind of like the main premise here. Now, let's kind of assess a lot of this, plagiarism first. So, yeah, a lot of the characters like Rebecca or Shiki are pretty much like copy-pasted over from Fairy Tail. I have done on a previous channel of mine, a video about self-plagiarism, how the creator of Full Metal Alchemist does that. Akira Toriyama is notorious also copy-pasting characters from, designs that he has created. And you would always expect there would be new designs, or that, artists would evolve. You can always have a different type of style. And some people have done that they have that one specific style that they draw in, but that doesn't mean that all of their character designs are exactly similar to one another. And maybe that's a bit of a problem here. For example, Rebecca is quite similar to Lucy in the character type, but our main character, Shiki, which is kind of looking like black-haired Natsu, he is a bit different type of a character compared to Natsu, I would say. There are some, overlapping similarities, yes, but I would argue that there are some elements that make him a bit different from Natsu. I think Natsu's been more fire-headed and more aggressive, and Shiki has been more, I don't want to say laid back, but perhaps, a bit more passive, not so aggressive type of a character compared to the two. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of similarities between some of the characters. You also have Happy, which is a bit different colored and is an android instead of a real cat. And And there's other characters obviously which we could go on list on, and some people have probably done comparisons. There's probably characters which I've taken from Rave Master as well. I've only watched, like, I think the pilot episode of Rave Master or something. But my biggest problem, if you remember my review out of Fairy Tail, was that it was using that same adventure, or it's not even an adventure format. It was a story format that where new arc would happen, there would be new 5 enemies, which would fight our, the main cast of our characters, and this process would repeat over and over again. New 5 villains, one joins the Fairy Tail Guild, once again, new 5 villains, and new 5 villains, and new 5 villains, and this was the whole story. And yeah, there's one tournament arc which was kind of slowly deviating from the pre-existing format, but that was the entire format of Fairy Tail over through all the arcs. It was like just random new enemies introduced, and then there was multiple fights. That was bad story format. Okay, it was like the monster of the week, basically. Now, in EDENS 0, the story is constructed in a better way. And look, we're not saying that this is like a masterpiece or anything, but as shonens go, or in comparison to Fairy Tail, I think the story is a lot more interesting and a bit more varied in its style compared to the Fairy Tail, because it's not just like going on to the new enemies and new enemies. There's some bit different stuff in the mix, things that happen, and kidnappings and rescue missions. These are kind of more kind of similar, but not again similar. So, and also in the beginning obviously have the character introduction arcs, but yeah, I think it's fundamentally a bit different from the story format of Fairy Tail, and in that sense we could say that Hiromashima is improved. Okay, but I still think that he should stop writing, and you should just get a guy who writes the story for him, and he's going to be staying there illustrating only these characters. Okay, and that would be my preference for him. Some mangakas really understand their strengths and weaknesses, and they should stick to those. If somebody is really bad at writing, you should probably stop writing and just be the fucking artist. Now, let's kind of, assess to the other aspects of this thing. So in terms of the OST, I did like the opening song, but I think if I compare to the Fairy Tail OST, which is good, even if you dislike Fairy Tail, you still are going to be saying likely that the Fairy Tail soundtrack is pretty phenomenal. It's one of the more better modern anime soundtracks out there in terms of shonens go, and this one doesn't really hold up to the bar. There's one good battle theme which actually sounds like something out of Fairy Tail, because it's using the same instruments, like as the horns or something. I can't really recall right now, but it was like feeling that was some type of a same folklore type of a beat or something. But that was a good track. Other than that, I don't remember anything else out of it. So openings okay, OST kind of weaker than in Fairy Tail. Now, it also is a bit darker story compared to Fairy Tail. I don't think it's all this watered down friendship bullshit all the time, and less, over impulsive crying all the fucking time. And, it's a bit more mature. There's some bit more darker themes, and I think this was, Hermit's story, I think, is a good explanation or demonstration of a bit of those more darker storylines. And also characters do die here. I think a couple have died. And it's a bit more serious. I think it's matured in some aspects. So I think Eden Zero is decent shonen, but it kind of fails to. When I was starting watching Fairy Tail, I was really into it. And then I did drop it like somewhere middle way of the manga and the anime. I was like, damn, I'm getting so tired of this repetitive format. But I'm definitely more into the Eden Zero as of right now. They have adapted around first of the 8 volumes, and the manga has gone through 18 volumes. So there's possibility that we're going to be seeing another similar length season in next year or something. Or maybe early 2023, but I think the problem here is that once again, they have adapted the material way too early, and there's gonna be this huge lag, adapting the source material, and you have to like wait maybe a year. It's likely that they might do just a 13 episode season next time, because the anime is gonna be catching up to the manga way too early. But overall, I think it's it's a decent shonen anime, but it has its flaws, and, I wasn't, like, exactly bored or anything at any point. I think it has a pretty good pacing throughout, but I haven't really had that moment, which kind of, like, brings me in super emotionally connected and interested in the shonen story, as Fairy Tail initially did. So it has lacked that golden moment that gets me really deep dive into the story. Also, it kind of feels, in terms of sci-fi themes, I've been very critical about the way the Japanese write their sci-fi stuff in general, but when you introduce stuff like time travel, time loops, and multiple universes, it kind of opens up door for a lot of things that don't fucking make any sense. And you gotta be kind of careful when you create a sci-fi universe. You have to make things that kind of make sense. And it kind of gets on a bit of that Dragon Ball level when somewhere down the line you're gonna be having inconsistencies in the story and the canon, like how does this make sense and etc. So I kind of wish that they had a bit more, maybe a bit more serious approach into the story. Well, it's not story, but like real science elements in terms of gravity and things like that. But I'm not gonna be blabbering any longer. I thought it was decent. I think whatever you liked Fairy Tail or not may not have an impact on whatever you like or dislike Eden Zero. But I can definitely understand a lot of the outcry regarding it, and I still don't think it's okay to just plagiarize your own work, even if you have made them yourself. But thanks for watching. I will be seeing you guys on the next video. Cheers.